So what is the one Disney game you think of for the Sega Genesis and Mega Drive? Yeah, me too. Well, guess what? There's a lot more than just that one, let me tell you. There's 20 to be exact. So let's see which ones are good, which ones are okay, and which ones are just plain bad. Starting with Castle of Illusion, starring Mickey Mouse. One of the most memorable platform games on the Sega Genesis, and honestly not just because it stars Mickey Mouse, or I don't know, maybe it is. Either way, this game definitely has earned its reputation as one of the most beloved Sega Genesis games. The story is pretty standard. Minnie Mouse has been kidnapped, mouse-napped, by an evil witch named Miserable, who is very clearly not happy at all because she's miserable. Miserable? Yeah, sorry about that one. You start off here in the Enchanted Forest collecting apples and throwing them at enemies. Apples are limited, so you need to learn Mickey's butt stomp attack or you won't get very far. Take that. Makes me wonder if this was the first game to use the butt stomp. I feel like Mario may have borrowed that. Later stages include a toy-filled room, a spooky library, the clock tower, and even a candy-themed stage. Candy. This spider stage is kind of creepy though, and I don't like it. Ugh. For a game that's only 4 megabits, it's very fun, has tight controls, memorable music, and great gameplay. No wonder it stands out as one of the best early Genesis games. Love it! Fantasia. This game really should have been called Mickey Mouse and the Sorcerer's Apprentice because that's the only part of the movie represented here. Maybe they didn't want to conflict with the Atari game. I played this one a while back for a Worst Genesis Games video, and I didn't get very far because I found the game exceedingly hard. I do like the visuals of the first stage. It looks very much like the movie. To use a spell, you have to find these books, and there's just not enough of them. Time for Game Genie! There we go, that's much better. Now the game is actually more fun! Ha ha ha! These endless enemies can't hurt me now! The second stage has you traversing this swamp right outside the castle. Yeah, okay, now the cracks are beginning to show in Mickey's controls. It's not refined enough to make him jump where you want him, so you end up overshooting your target. It doesn't help that these lily pads move so erratically. Then I ended up in this underwater sequence where, again, the controls are trash. You think you tap the button to swim, but no, you have to hold down the button instead. That's not exactly intuitive. Afterwards, the game glitched out on me, but I was able to see just how ridiculously hard the rest of the stage was. And this is supposed to be a game for kids? Dang, I really hope the masses were wrong about this game, but nope, it's pretty bad. Dislike. QuackShot, starring Donald Duck. Here's one of the more unique Disney action games starring my favorite Disney character, Donald Duck. He's on a quest to find King Garisia's lost treasure using a plunger gun stolen from Mario's plumbing supplies. Shoot the enemies to stun them so you can pass by. No killing allowed. There's also a limited ammo popcorn gun if you prefer to use it. Initially, you can choose from 3 different stages, but you really should start with Mexico. Then go to Duckburg. And then Transylvania. Wait, shouldn't that be Ducksylvania? And shouldn't Dracula be called Count Duckula? I don't know, seems like a mistake if you ask me. When you reach the end of Duckburg, you talk to this character who gives you a key, but only if you've already been to Mexico. Backtrack much? You'll need that key to get into the ancient Mexican building. I don't know, I guess it's a pyramid? As you explore it, you'll eventually come across Goofy, who gives you a new plunger to help you jump higher. Use that in Duckburg to find Gyro, who gives you the bubblegum ammo which you need in the Transylvania stage. Whew, man, that really sounds complicated, but it's not too bad. The sounds and music are excellent with some nice catchy tunes that fit the theme of each stage. Graphics and animation are nice too, Donald especially. I kinda wish there was more voice though, and not just this quack noise he makes when eating too many peppers. That's hilarious, by the way. I love it when he does that. The slower pace and backtracking really makes you feel like you're on an adventure. Love it. TaleSpin. Based on the Disney afternoon cartoon, this game stars Baloo from The Jungle Book. How on earth did he get this gig anyway? This is a side-scrolling platform game where you collect cargo boxes and then search for the stage exit. It's not too hard. However, I really didn't care for all this water since it's hard to move around and also tricky to figure out where to go. I'm just guessing you have to go behind this rock? Also, the crabs just won't leave me alone. Get off me! I really preferred the dry parts of the stage since moving and attacking was much easier. Baloo has a paddle ball attack, which is okay, I guess. I don't know, I didn't really find it all that satisfying. The second stage has you exploring the city and, again, falling into water. Whew, man, I hope this isn't a sewer. Again, it looks like you're trapped here, and it doesn't seem right that you can move through the walls. I didn't know Baloo had superpowers. Graphics are a mixed bag. They're detailed, but, I don't know, lifeless somehow. And the music reminds me of Green Dog, very Gems-like. If you like the show, well, I hesitate to say you'll like this because you probably won't. Dislike. World of Illusion, starring Mickey and Donald. The sequel to Castle of Illusion, this game features Donald Duck in addition to Mickey. The goal is for our heroes to find a way to escape a magical world. The main attack is quite different this time. Instead of the butt stomp, Mickey and Donald use their magical capes to defeat enemies. I gotta say, it's not nearly as satisfying, but it does kind of fit with the theme of the game. You can use magic this time around to help you traverse the stages. As before, there are numerous stages to explore, like an enchanted forest stage. Again. This underwater stage is pretty tough, but I liked going above the surface to the beach. Here's a cool one where you're shrunk down, stomping on paint and staplers. Then this candy stage is really making me want some chocolate. Or how about this flying stage that leads into a scary lightning storm? Ooh. They're all a feast for the eyes with lots of detail and bright colors. There's also a 2-player simultaneous mode for gamers who have friends. World of Illusion often gets overlooked for Castle of Illusion, which is strange because this game has more levels, better music, features, and is generally a more fulfilling experience. Love it! Aladdin. This is a fast-paced, beautifully animated platformer based on Disney's 1992 hit film. You start off here as a street rat, collecting apples and slashing enemies with your sword. That is quite satisfying, I gotta admit. I also like jumping on the camels. Check out his reaction. This first stage isn't quite linear, but it's also not too hard to figure out where to go. Other stages include the Cave of Wonders, the dungeon, the magic carpet scene, and more. Wait, I still haven't seen the genie yet. Where is he? Is he even in this game? Oh, I just didn't get far enough. Controls are great and thankfully not at all hampered by the animation. I love the highly detailed backgrounds, and each stage is extremely faithful to the look of the movie. Pretty sure this is the #1 best-selling game for the Genesis outside of, well, Sonic. So you've probably played it and enjoyed it many times. If not, what are you, weird? Beauty and the Beast: Belle's Quest. Now, there were 2 games for the Genesis based on the popular movie. This one is Belle's Quest, and I can't help but think it was geared towards young girls. But truthfully, I kinda enjoyed this one myself, especially this first stage where you have to hide from Gaston to reach the end. Just avoid him and LeFou by hiding indoors until they leave. Pretty clever. Other stages have you traveling the forest, searching for keys in the Beast's castle, and collecting rose petals while recreating the famous dance scene. Belle's animation is nice and smooth, as were LeFou and Gaston. I'm kinda lukewarm on the graphics. They tried to pull off this 3D perspective in the town that, I don't know, just looks kinda flat. I do like the amount of characters, which gives the town a little bit of life. Sometimes they're way off in the background too. Check that out. This is a decent attempt to bring half the movie home to fans. I kinda like it. Beauty and the Beast: Roar of the Beast. This is the more action-heavy of the 2 Beast games for Genesis. Belle's game has its moments, but this one is all action. You start off as Beast, who must protect his castle from interlopers such as bats, bears, and snakes, all by using a slash attack. Seriously, how'd these critters get in here anyway? The first boss is a hilariously derpy looking brown bear. Was he in the movie? Afterwards, you protect the enchanted rose from more intruders like this warthog, I think. There's a bonus game where you try to put this awesome looking stained glass window together, but I was too slow. There's another one later in the game that looks even more incredible. Here you have to collect rose petals, which is far easier than putting a puzzle together. This stage was creative, where you knock enemies back so that your buddies can take them out. It's a little too repetitive though. Graphics are inconsistent. Sometimes they're amazing and sometimes they're dull. The music is a little rough on the ears too. Still, fans of the movie might enjoy this one. The Jungle Book. Based on the 1967 movie, based on the Rudyard Kipling book, you play as a boy named Mowgli who was raised by wolves. Anyway, he's being hunted by Shere Khan the tiger on his journey home to his human village. First of all, let me say the visuals and animation here are fantastic. There's just so many frames of animation for Mowgli, it's just a joy to see. It's fast, smooth, and responsive too, unlike some other games where the animation makes the character hard to control. He has a couple of items to throw at enemies, like bananas, rocks, and boomerangs. I prefer the double bananas myself. The stages look beautiful and the design isn't terrible. It started off as a where the heck do I go kind of game, but I actually enjoyed exploring the stages in search of the exit. The music is decent enough, and I found myself humming the bare necessities right along with the game. There's also some nice cutscenes between the stages that move the story forwards. This is a very polished Disney game and one of the best for the Genesis. Love it. Bonkers. I kind of remember this one from back in the day, but I didn't watch the show. I was probably too busy watching DuckTales, I think. This is a collection of mini-games where I guess you play as a cartoon police officer trying to stop crooks. In this first stage, you're throwing donuts at enemies trying to stop them from stealing your magic lamp, the Mickey ears, and, a half-eaten apple. And in another stage, you're driving Spy Hunter style through the streets and trying to trip up the enemy with your oil slick. Here's a stage where we are trying to build a wall to stop this robot from throwing tires at me, I guess. This one kind of reminded me of a reverse version of Oink for the Atari 2600. And then there's this stage where I had no idea what I was doing here. I think you're supposed to smash the boxes and find the stuff inside, but for some reason I couldn't quite get it to work. I tried everything, I don't know, I'm an idiot. I really thought this would be a standard side-scrolling platform game, but it was not that at all. One point in its favor is that the graphics look very much like the cartoon. It also has some nice sound effects and music. I like it. Goofy's Hysterical History Tour. Okay, so where to begin on this one? I think this is meant as a kid's game that finds Goofy in a museum, adventuring through different historical areas. You start out in the prehistoric area, jumping on mushroom men from Fantasia, snails, frogs, and other critters. You have a mechanical arm that will stun enemies, but it takes 3 hits to knock them out. Next, you travel to cowboy times, where the cowboys are the weasels from Roger Rabbit. I mean, that's what they look like to me. The third stage is in colonial times, jumping on houses and floating around on magical kites. Okay, I gotta remember this is just a kid's game. But it is frickin' hard for a kid's game. First of all, the enemies are everywhere and will quickly drain your energy. Thank goodness for Game Genie, or I'd never be able to see the other stages. But even Game Genie can't help when it comes to these bottomless pits. And they're everywhere, and usually under a block that you have to carefully jump on or grab to progress. No, not again. In the cowboy stage, this area fooled me into thinking I had to climb up, but see those ledges over there? Yeah, that's where I needed to go. In the colonial area, I accidentally touched the kite I needed to jump on, and it floated away, leaving me stranded. Ah, crap. Grabbing onto those blocks with the mechanical arm is a must, and I just couldn't reliably do it. That made the game really frustrating. Truthfully, I think this would make a great candidate for an AVGN episode. Anyway, avoid this. It sucks. Mickey Mania, The Timeless Adventures of Mickey Mouse. Traveler's Tales coded this one, and it hits on all the creative cylinders: graphics, sounds, music, and gameplay. Each stage is based on a different Mickey Mouse cartoon, starting with Steamboat Willie, which is in black and white, just like the original cartoon. Here you collect marbles to throw at enemies and ring bells to complete the stage. Color is slowly introduced into the game, which is pretty cool, but I don't remember that happening in the movie. Other stages are based on The Lonesome Ghosts, Moose Hunters, and the Mad Doctor cartoons, to name just a few. There's some pretty cool visual effects too, like this crane. When you're chased by the moose, or when you climb around this tower. And the sound effects on Mickey's voice are remarkably clear, especially for a Genesis game. This is probably the best Mickey Mouse game ever made, and definitely not one to be missed. Love it. The Lion King. Here's one of the most remembered games for the Genesis, and not in a good way. The first thing most people say about it is that it's too hard. It was created by Westwood Studios and is obviously based on what I think is Disney's most popular animated feature of all time. You start off by playing as young Simba the lion brat, stomping on bugs and roaring at porcupines. Next you come to this stage where you have to jump on giraffe heads, swing from rhino tails, and get tossed about by monkeys. I think this is the stage that most people dislike the most, because it's really hard getting to the end. The elephant graveyard stage is pretty fun, if for nothing else but the great visuals. Man, are they super detailed. All the stages are, for that matter. This stampede stage is pretty cool. Simba's animation is particularly well done, although it's sometimes hard to find what you're supposed to grab onto. The music is straight from the movie and are good representations of the originals. So yeah, this game is difficult, but it's hard to deny that the game really knocked it out of the jungle. I do kind of like it. The Little Mermaid. This movie is very special to me because I was working at Disney MGM Studios when it was released. I remember cast members were invited to come see the movie in the current day Little Mermaid Theater, and it really made me feel like I was part of the Disney family. The game follows Ariel as she searches the ocean rescuing merpeople turned into polyps by the evil Ursula. She can shoot songs at enemies, which I think is her main weapon. I don't know, it doesn't seem to do all that much damage. The first boss is this lava head. That's weird, I don't remember him from the movie. Afterwards, you explore some sunken ships for polyps and treasure chests while avoiding sharks and, skeletons? Okay. This stage takes forever, and some areas are blocked by boulders which can only be moved by your tiny friend Flounder. Ariel can't push a boulder? Come on, man. Controls are not great. I guess it's just a trait of underwater games since Echo the Dolphin has similar issues. The visuals are honestly quite weak and aren't much better than what an 8-bit system can do. The background does do this wavy motion, which is kinda cool. The music is completely unrelated to the movie. It's this upbeat pop stuff that sounds like it came straight out of the 90s, when it really should have been more nautical sounding. So, I really love the movie, but the game is, I don't know, just mediocre. I give it a mild like. Donald in Maui Mallard. Here's one I've only vaguely heard of, probably because it was never released in the US. You're playing as Donald, playing as a washed-up detective named Maui Mallard, on a case to find some magical idol. The first stage has you exploring this creepy mansion collecting bugs for ammo. Sometimes you need to grab these chains to progress, either by climbing or pulling downward. That's easier said than done because Donald's jumping is very sloppy. In general, he's kinda hard to control. I guess that kinda makes sense for him because, you know, he's usually out of control in the cartoons too. There's also some mild puzzle solving, like getting these blocks to move by stepping on pressure pads. The first boss is this creepy metal spider. Ugh, hate spiders. The next stage has you in ninja training, and it will definitely test your patience. First, you have to hold down the buttons to change into the ninja with the bow staff. This bow staff allows you to whack your enemies. Occasionally, you hop into this statue to smash walls to continue. That's pretty cool. But what's not cool is when you swing from these hooks. Trying to get the jump just right is a pain. This is an interesting game with detailed graphics and animation. I just wish the controls weren't so dodgy. Still, I love it. Gargoyles. Based on the popular Disney afternoon cartoon, this one is a little darker than their typical fare. This may be why the title screen says Buena Vista instead of Disney? I don't know, maybe. Either way, this is a fun action platformer where you play as Goliath the Gargoyle, who is voiced in the cartoon by Mary's dad, Keith David. You start off in medieval times 1,000 years ago as you defend your castle from invaders. Goliath can slash attack, throw enemies, smash walls, smash through floors, and climb walls. Oh yeah, and he can also fly short distances too. Typical gargoyle showing off. I really like the visuals of the first stage. They're highly detailed with flickering torches. The level design is also fantastic, and I never got lost. Well, I mean, after I figured out how to do that ground smash. Second stage is in the Rookery, which I guess is the egg chamber? I don't know, I'm not up on gargoyle lore. This one looks to be in the depths of heck with hot magma everywhere. I'm not as crazy about this level's design though. There's spots where you must grab a chain to open a hot vent to help you float upwards. Grabbing anything in this game is just hit or miss. Mostly miss. Like here in stage 3, where you must grab these lights and swing to the next one. I must have tried this a dozen times and just finally gave up. Still though, this is a great game with some fun design elements. Just wish the later stages were as good as the first one. Love it. The Great Circus Mystery, starring Mickey and Minnie. Wow, here's a great one that I have not heard much about. I think it's a sequel to a Super Nintendo game. It's a fun side-scrolling platform game from Capcom starring, well, you know who. This is definitely a kid's game because it's so easy. Or maybe it's because I had Game Genie turned on again, I forgot. You start off at the circus hopping on these clown balls and balloons to reach the first boss. He throws fire at you and you have to jump on his head 8 times to move onto this stinky tent. Donald is waiting there and gives Mickey a vacuum cleaner. Now you can suck up the enemies and turn them into coins. Then we go through the main tent and fight this lion at the end. Next we have a jungle where you have a hook to climb, slide, and swing. After that is the ghost house where you ride a hobby horse like a pogo stick, similar to Scrooge McDuck's cane in DuckTales. The visuals are just outstanding and feature some highly detailed graphics and animation. You know, typical Capcom stuff. Music and sounds are great too, and you'd never know that this was a Genesis game. Wow. I would definitely pick this one up if I ever get the chance. Love it. Toy Story. Another standout Disney game from Traveler's Tales, and one where I enjoy the incredible visuals and variety. You start out as Woody in Andy's room collecting stars and trying to reach the bed. Check out that cool perspective effect there. How the heck did they do that on Genesis? Afterwards, you get to ride Rex, drive RC around in a top-down view, hide inside a Pizza Planet cup as giant kids stomp past, navigate an impressive 3D maze that feels wild for Genesis hardware, and finally ride on RC in a behind-the-car racing stage on a texture-mapped road. I just love that there's so much variety in the game. You just never get bored, that's for sure. The developers certainly pulled out all the stops, and it's one of the coolest and most ambitious Disney games on the platform. Love it. Pinocchio. Here we have Pinocchio, based on the beloved 1940 movie. It's the story of a wooden puppet who becomes conscious, abandons his creator, gets kidnapped and turned into a donkey, grows a long nose when he lies, and eventually gets eaten by a whale. The end. Oh, wait, no, there's more? The game starts off really easy. You just travel through the town to reach the school at the end. Next, you play as Jiminy Cricket smacking moss at a light post. The third stage is frankly where I quit, and it's because you have to mimic the dances of this girl on the right. If you don't do it right, you get tomatoes thrown at you. I don't know, I'm just far too uncoordinated for this type of gameplay. But let's see what's next using the power of the internet. Ooh, yikes, it looks like we have to grab these balloons to collect books here. Then there's this cool roller coaster stage. An underwater stage. A stage inside the whale. And a stage where you and Geppetto must paddle your boat to escape the whale. Visually, the game is one of the better looking late Genesis releases. I love the color and detail of the backgrounds, looks just like the movie. Music is quite nice too and also mimics the movie. This game can be beaten in under 30 minutes if you know what to do. By all accounts, it looks to be one of the higher tier Disney games. Just wish I could skip that dancing stage. Mild-like. Pocahontas. Of all the Disney animated movies, this is one of the few that I've never seen. I don't know, it just didn't strike my fancy. It centers around the historical Native American named Pocahontas who, if I remember my history, helped John Smith and the founders of Jamestown when she was 10 years old. But in the Disney movie, she is much older. I don't know, it makes sense to me. What's your problem? The visuals are decent, nothing too taxing for the system. The animation of Pocahontas is quite fluid, but at a cost because, much like Prince of Persia, it makes her very hard to control. Fortunately, this is more of a puzzle-solving game than an action one. For example, you need the raccoon to climb up and push this boulder down. Later in the game, you acquire animal abilities like swimming from the otter or running fast from the deer. Swimming is pretty awful. It doesn't look bad in the footage, but the controls are very slow and jerky. The music sounds very high quality though. Who knew that the Genesis could mimic an authentic Native American flute so perfectly? Overall, this isn't my type of game. The only way I will ever be one with nature is when it's screened in and air-conditioned. Dislike. Okay, well, that's gonna do it. All 20 games that appeared on the Sega Genesis and Mega Drive. Which one is your favorite? Please let me know down in the comments. Thank you to my members. I really appreciate you supporting the channel. Thanks for watching, take care, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye, everyone.